Thank you, Alex and Tyler and Cassie, for joining me for this conversation about PFAS, the forever chemicals. Cassie Barker is Senior Program Manager for Toxics at Environmental Defense, and I have the privilege of working with her as Engagement Manager on the team. Alex and Tyler Mifflin are the Water Brothers, and they have recently done an episode about PFAS called The Forever Chemicals. So with that, let's get started. And Cassie, would you like to tell us a bit about what PFAS are and why they're a problem?
So PFAS is a massive class of chemicals that share one similar property, which is that they've connected a carbon and a fluorine to create an indestructible bond. That bond is useful for non-stick, durability, all kinds of properties framed up by industry as useful in every type of product, 200 product types. That indestructible bond, when it's released into the environment and into our bodies, is very damaging and is there forever. This is a global, ubiquitous issue that over the past several decades is growing. This episode does a great job of illustrating the many ways that PFAS not only shows up, but is also hurting us and the planet.
So Alex and Tyler, your episode, of course, as Cassie just mentioned, does talk about the problem as well, and in particular, how it impacts water. Would you tell us a bit more about the episode?
Yeah, the episode explores the dangers that PFAS pose to water, human and environmental health, like all across Canada and around the world, from contaminating sources of drinking water to what are the products that contain PFAS. There's a lot of unknowns. I mean, that is really kind of one of the themes of the episode is there's more we don't know than what we actually know about these chemicals, especially their long-term impacts. We spoke with Rob Ballot in the episode, the lawyer who's been, fighting for justice for the many people that have been impacted by, high-level exposure. But there's so many unknowns about sort of the low-level exposures that we're getting in our daily lives through the products we use, whether it's a rain jacket, the non-stick pan you may be using to cook food, to cosmetics, clothing. There's so many whole classes, like construction materials, so much that we go into in the episode. We also do look at solutions as well.
Tyler, did you want to weigh in at all on that?
It was a really fascinating journey researching and producing this episode and getting to interview so many incredible scientists who have dedicated their lives to better understanding this, the PFAS chemicals. And sort of, what Al sort of mentioned is, and Cassie, is just that they're really persistent in the environment. Why they're so good at sort of repelling water is that it's the strongest bond that's ever been made. But that's also what makes them so persistent. They don't break down. And there's still so much we really need to learn about the long-term health impacts, environmental impacts at lower levels, because Canadians, everyone around the world is being exposed to these low-level PFAS, and Al said, in the air, in our drinking water, it's in rainwater, in so many products. That was really intriguing to learn about it and alarming.
So you mentioned Rob and you mentioned some of the researchers. Is there anyone else in the episode that you would like to highlight?
Yeah, well, we spoke with Dr. Miriam Diamond from the University of Toronto, who's been doing a lot of tests on products to figure out which ones contain PFAS. How much are we really being exposed? She and her team have been doing some really fascinating research into cosmetics and clothing, uncovering just how widespread PFAS are in our daily lives. We met with Dr. Emila De Silva and Dr. Shane De Sola from Environment and Climate Change Canada, who are like toxicologists and environmental scientists who are testing rivers and streams and wildlife, testing like eggs of gulls and birds that could be exposed, trying to figure out how they might be impacted when we're looking at the rivers and the aquatic ecosystems. How could that be entering our drinking water? And then that took us to North Bay. Many of us have low level exposure, but there are some communities across Canada who have higher level exposure through their drinking water. And this is connected to the story of firefighting foam. Municipal fire departments, but also airports are a big user, and military bases have been using these PFAS-based firefighting foams. And at a lot of these airports, these were sprayed not just when things light on fire, when there's accidents, but also for testing, for training, for firefighters. So these foams get used a lot, and at airports, it's concentrated areas. They're using them over and over again over many decades, and that's contaminated sources of drinking water. There's dozens of these sites right across the country, around the world as well. But one of them is in North Bay. And so that took us to meet with a city councillor and engineers who manage the drinking water treatment facilities for North Bay, to talk about how they're unable to remove it from the drinking water. They know it's a concern, but and then that also raises all the sort of regulatory issues that come up as well. Like how do our governments stay ahead of this, and where is the funding going to come from to upgrade our drinking water treatment facilities, to upgrade our wastewater treatment facilities? There's just so many questions that get raised through these investigations, and it just shows how much work there is still to be done in this country and around the world to really regulate these chemicals and protect the health of us and wildlife and really all living things on this planet that could potentially be impacted by PFAS contamination.
There's many different solutions to combating this problem, from trying to, obviously I think the most impactful one is just trying to stop using our products, to stop using PFAS in their manufacturing process and to find alternatives. One of the biggest sources of contamination is from firefighting foam. These big fires, particularly with Al mentioned airports where there's jet fuel, it's really hard, if not impossible, to put that out with just water. So they use a lot of these foams that sort of blanket the fire and sort of starve it of oxygen. And so it's really good at that because it kind of prevents water, traps it the fire. But firefighting foam has a lot of PFAS chemicals in it. And so we profiled, we went and spoke to these people that started this company called Fire Rain in Napanee, Ontario, that have developed PFAS-free alternatives for firefighting foam. Their whole team, there's a bunch of different, most of them are ex-firefighters or firefighters, as well as some really amazing scientists they've been working with to develop some of these sort of plant-based PFAS-free products that work really, really well. But again, trying to get these products out in the marketplace, there's so much standards in terms of airports and how there's a lot of sort of hoops you have to jump through to get these products approved. So I know they're in the process of doing that. But yeah, the team at Fire Rain was really inspiring to see an Ontario-based company coming up with some fantastic solutions to solve some of these big global issues.
Mm-hmm. Wow, it's really good to hear about some of the solutions, and that they're coming from the people that are most affected too. I have one more question for Cassie. For those of us watching, is there an opportunity coming up for us to learn more about this and to take action?
This is something that really needs government to lead. And the episode demonstrates that industry, when left to their own devices, is not going to prioritize our health or the planet in the way that we need them to. And the government has to set these strong rules for industry, for products that goes beyond labeling and letting us know what's in the products. It means prohibiting those ingredients from making it into products in the first place. Right now, the federal government is actually saying they're agreeing this is a class of chemicals that needs regulation, and they are regulating firefighting foams. They are taking PFAS off of the market in terms of those firefighting foams, but that's just one product. What we need the government to do is follow the example of the EU. The EU has laid out a roadmap as to how we can get to this PFAS-free future in products. So something that we're asking the government to do, and we ask everyone who is concerned about this issue to join. They can sign a letter to the government, let them know that PFAS in products is an issue that we all care about. We don't want to be consuming these products, and without their help, we'll never be able to buy our way out of this issue. There's an opening for this to happen right now. So everyone who adds their voice is helping to signal that this is an important issue that we want to see addressed.
Thank you, Cassie. So just to elaborate on that a bit, if you want to sign this action, you can go to environmentaldefense.ca. look up the Toxic Reality of PFAS blog, and you'll see that there's an action in that blog, and that's the one that Cassie mentioned. I would also encourage you to watch the Forever Chemical episode, which is found on the Water Brothers website, waterbrothers.ca. And that's an excellent way to learn more and to see the people that we've talked about today. I want to thank you, Cassie and Alex and Tyler, for having this conversation today.